Hello, everyone. This is Monsef Afker, and thank you so much for joining us in this new call of Your Divine Uniqueness. So happy to have you with us again, live or on the replay. And also really excited and really happy to have Sarah Ellingworth back on the show. She's been joining us, I think, during the last seasons every time, and really, how to say, like from the first time we had her on the show, I was really fascinated by the depth of her message, and also the power of the energy that she holds and she shares, and also how she can maybe talk about subjects that sometimes are difficult to assimilate, or to not just to understand by the mind, but also feel into that within the heart. And I love the way she approached them, because it's more like an experience that we are having, that is more about an embodiment that is helping us with. And yeah, I love that in her work. And for those of you who are new to her, she is a master energy practitioner of the healing arts, intuitive healer, and shadow worker. And the subject today is Ascend and Manifest, unlocking 5D power. So she will be discussing in depth how can we shift from 3D to 5D consciousness, and also the myths around the 5D living, and misconceptions, because many times we won't, it feels like we will be only in one cycle of life, and we try to avoid all aspects of the human experience. But here it's more about raising the vibration to and embodying our 5D power, so we can approach all the human aspects of us, and from an empowered and sovereign state of being. And also she will be sharing about how tapping into this power can really affect the way we manifest our desires and create the life that we want. So it will be inspiring and powerful. And also we'll have a Q&A. So as always, if you are on Zoom, you can raise your hand by pressing reactions, then raise hand. If you are on the phone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. And also you can type your questions on the chat boxes on Zoom and on YouTube. So with that, Sarah, welcome back to the show. Happy to have you with us.
Thank you, Monsef. Thank you for that beautiful introduction. And I really loved how you were talking then about embodying our 5D power. And yeah, that was what I really wanted to share today was I feel like sometimes there's this romantic view around what 5D living is. And there's, I think, also too a misconception around the ease of living in a 5D vibration, and what that even is, and how do we get there. And so I will start with, because the purpose of it also too is that I want everybody to be thriving. Like, it's time for us to thrive on this planet in our humanness, and that is part of 5D consciousness, but we're doing it on planet Earth, with Mother Earth and the duality that lives here on this planet, and forms part of the playground that we learn here. So we need to learn how to embrace living on this planet within a 3D matrix, but actually operating with 5D consciousness. And how do we thrive in that spiritual sense, coming out of, all the lower vibrational conditioning and programming that happens to us as a natural extension of the experience of being human on this planet. So, just to highlight too, I just wanted to go through like the difference between 3D and 5D. And I, just sharing a bit of my story, I sort of moved into 5D consciousness without even really thinking about it. Like, I wasn't aware that was actually what was happening. And then when I learned about it, I realized I'd sort of really progressed on that journey. And and that was really cool, but it wasn't something I'd sort of set out to achieve. And I don't think that's necessary either. It's like, once you sort of settle up and get along on your journey, that stuff just sort of takes care of itself. But at some point, it is helpful to consciously align to that frequency, because that'll help propel you along a little bit further as well. So And also too, that, I really want to clarify the 3D concept or the 3D consciousness isn't a bad thing, and it's not something that we should be judging. It's a very natural part of our evolution. So, or our spirit experience, even in this lifetime, as we move from 3D into 5D. So it's not, I really want to encourage people to stay out of the judgment of that frequency and really look at how it has served us, and what are we learning about ourselves through this frequency as we come into a higher alignment of our truth and integrity and move into that 5D consciousness. So yeah, so that being said, I'll just go over some of the concepts or some of the aspects of 3D living. And it's been really interesting because, again, as always, when they put the topic on my radar, it then comes up in conversations and with clients, and it's always very interesting. Yeah, so the 3D consciousness is very much, that is the framework where human consciousness is programmed and conditioned into the compliance piece, the compliance of the 3D matrix. The materialism, I am glossing over this, by the way. I'm going to go through this part pretty quickly, but there's a lot more to it. But the ego, the individuality, the separateness, there's a lot of fear. This was one of the biggest ways I identified as I moved out of 3D into 5D, was that 5D was that I wasn't really operating. I wasn't thinking. I wasn't making decisions based on fear anymore. I was really going, well, what's my truth? What am I feeling? Where is this coming from? Why do I want to do that? I started questioning everything. And then my decision-making process or my choices started to come from a different place. Now, that doesn't mean I got it right every time either. Of course, the process of learning is messy. And in that space, we then navigate all the other stuff. But I started to be guided by more of the call of my soul versus what I'd been told to do or what I'd been programmed to do, because that was essentially what got me into a sticky spot in the first place, where I was like so incredibly unhappy. And this was a conversation I was having earlier today. We live life the way we've been conditioned to, and then we get to a certain point where we're like, why am I so unhappy? Or, marriages break up after 10, 20, 30, 40 years because there's been shifts, unconscious shifts where we've changed and grown, or followed a pattern without actually ever checking in and questioning why. So we also have the limited awareness. For me, one of the biggest things was just, and this has come up with the education system as well. It's like, just believe what you're told. Go to school, get your certificate. You're only ever learning what the next person learnt. You work within those parameters. You don't question anything. You don't challenge anything, and then just go off and do your job. Like, that is very constrictive. That is very much the 3D, the 3D matrix. And I also too want to highlight the not questioning anything. It's the compliance piece of the programming. Now, there's a piece in there that also is like, that's done to survive the place called planet Earth. Like, there is an element of conditioning that is required for behavior, but at some point it's like your conditions supported to grow into a good person, and then you can challenge that. It's like, do you know what I mean? I don't want to dismiss everything that is created through the early years of our childhood. There's a lot of structure in place for a reason, and we need order on this planet, and we need to follow the rules, but then at some point we need the permission to question the rules or challenge the narrative and explore that. That's part of democracy. But we haven't learned how to do that yet in a safe way, because we have a very unhealthy attachment or relationship with power. So that undermines that process. Yeah, so following the rules. Just follow the rules, you'll be fine. That's very much 3D and the matrix. When you start to elevate beyond that, and again, I don't think this is something that you can force. This is a natural progression of your soul's evolvement as it pierces through the ego, pierces through your human experience, and starts to take more of a leadership role in how you're showing up in life. and we're paying attention to the lessons and we're leaning into the shadow work. We're doing the hard stuff. We're taking responsibility for the choices that we've made. And what are we doing with our hard feelings? So I do want to highlight that 5D consciousness isn't all pretty. And there's a lot of reason why people are resistant to doing the healing work, because it does require a level of responsibility for their thoughts and feelings in the life that they've created, even though they were doing it unconsciously or in that 3D consciousness. So 5D consciousness, and also too, like there's a lot of talk around 7D consciousness and 8D consciousness. And I'm just basically, it's like, do you operate from fear or do you operate from love? Do you operate in the 3D lower vibrational survival, format? Or are you operating from the freedom of love and understanding and creation and growth? So I'm not fussed. I'm not sort of sidetracked by all the higher levels. I'm really just going to stick to 3D, 5D. So the spiritual awakening is the process of the soul gaining strength and starting to have more of a say, more of an influence over our thoughts and feelings and our choices and what we want to create and do with our life, our creative expression. We have unity consciousness. So this is where we expand our consciousness into understanding and accepting more of our divinity, more of our oneness and our wholeness, and understanding that we are a divine being having a human experience. But in that process, it's about anchoring that soul aspect into the physical form. So we want to thrive in our physicality, we want to thrive in our materialistic sense, but we're doing it in a very conscious, loving, high vibrational manner. So this is where we want to bring our spirituality and our soul aspect into our humanness and our human lives and start to thrive on this planet, on this playground of Earth School. Raising our vibration to be operating from a higher frequency every day. Like you don't go, I had a really bad day, I dropped into 3D today. And everything's amazing again. Now I'm back in 5D and life is good. It doesn't work like that either. It's a consistency. It's like again, it's an evolution. Like when you come out of fear and start to live in that space of love, it doesn't mean there's never going to be fear, but you embrace the hard feelings, you embrace the fear, you understand why it's there and you process it, let it go, and then continue to move from that space of trust and love and acceptance and connection. So it's creating space for the shadow work, doing something with it that allows you to be responsible for your hard feelings without projecting, understanding it, and then utilizing it to learn, grow through the lesson and release. So again, that's another piece where 5D consciousness doesn't mean you're never going to get unhappy. It doesn't mean bad stuff or challenging stuff, I should say, is going to happen. It's about how we move through those challenges, how we're showing up. So the higher vibrational frequency, sorry, I got distracted then. The high vibrational frequency can be difficult to stay in, particularly when we're just getting used to what that looks like, how we get into it. And this is where I think I've talked before about the bloom room. Getting all the different colors on my face.
It's okay.
Where the bloom room is amazing, because the bloom room that I offer is a space where, and this is utilized in the concept of the Maharishi effect. So we are raising our vibration and we're doing it individually, but collectively as well. So we bless each other for a whole hour. So you're sitting in that vibration. I got a light show going on. I'm so sorry. Why? I'm just gonna pause.
Maybe it's it's a light. Maybe it's an effect. Yeah, it's an effect in the light.
Because it's evening here, so I have new lighting challenges. Anyway, where was I? Yeah, the higher vibrational space can be a difficult one to really anchor and stay into, because again, we have our hard feelings, we get challenged, we get triggered by daily life. So we still want to have our hard feelings, but it's again the piece where you pay attention to how you're feeling, you utilize it, you work with it in a responsible way, that allows you to keep showing up in a high vibration. So I do want to highlight that doesn't mean you drop down. You can still be sad and grateful, and you can still be just watch Inside Out. I watched Inside Out on the weekend. You can be happy and sad at the same time. It's a bit like that. It's having the hard feelings, but maintaining a sense of knowing within yourself that you are okay and you are learning a challenging lesson, having the compassion for yourself and the forgiveness of the messiness as you move through this really hard stuff. So I really want to say there's a big element in there where you give yourself permission to have your hard feelings. And that can be super challenging when we are, bereft, or, we're overly emotional, in pain or in suffering or whatever the trauma is that's getting triggered. We can still have that. We need to have that in our 5D-ness, in our 5D consciousness. It's just about how we show up to process that and move it. You will stay in 5D consciousness, in higher vibrational frequencies, even with your hard feelings. And then the other piece is the mindfulness. And this again taps back into taking responsibility for how we're feeling, what we're feeling, why, how we're showing up and what we're doing with it. I think a big concept that I see a lot in children when they're learning or having their hard feelings, and then they have their meltdown. I'm saying to little people all the time, you can have your hard feelings, but that doesn't permit bad behavior or poor behavior. So that doesn't give you permission to then go and lash out at another person just because you're angry. Go and process your anger. Do what you need to do. You should be feeling it. You're allowed to be angry, but that doesn't mean you go and project that onto other people. And I think we've talked about that before, where I was, talking about the violence that the violent thoughts that we can have when we really hate on ourselves, if we are judging or criticizing ourselves for how we've shown up in an exchange or the way we reacted to something. We can verbally be violent to ourselves in that way, or we can physically be violent. You come home and you slam the cupboards and the doors because you had a really bad day and you're like, oh, and you've just got all of this energy that needs to come out of you. The poor bathroom door didn't do anything to you. The car door, like it wasn't the car door's fault. So showing up in a way that is respectful to you. You are respecting you and your hard feelings. You're respectful of your body, your home, your environment, other people, and still finding avenues where you provide a safe space for you to exert those hard feelings or the anger or the abrasiveness, whatever needs to come out, it should come out. But being mindful of how we're showing up in that exchange so that we can, again, maintain that frequency of love and compassion whilst we deep dive into the shadow work. So I want to highlight that because that's, again, there's a misconception, which I'll move into, the misconception, the delusions around what it is to be in 5D consciousness. And I can promise you it's not all rainbows. I actually wanted to check in with you, Monsef, like what's been your relationship experience with sort of navigating into 5D consciousness?
Like you said, like you said, sometimes it's more like creative, peaceful, very loving, but at times also it's more about processing old stuff that maybe I didn't want to face or to stay with for some time, and then they just come to the surface. But in the end, it's more like going through that from a loving state, also like having more love toward myself, because many times when we go through those intense experiences or emotions, we have expectations how we should behave, and if we don't behave in that way, then we start judge ourselves. But it's more about having it's like we are accepting a child or a baby the way they are and giving them love. So it's the same way we need to do that to ourselves.
Yes, yeah. And the belief systems that, like, it's really, moving through this process creates a really amazing opportunity to question all of your beliefs, because that's another key way of shifting into that 5D consciousness. And as you were talking, I actually remembered I went through a phase where I'd done so much clearing work that I'd really released a lot of anger and a lot of the lower vibrational emotions. And so I was never really angry. Like I never had a really angry response to anything. Whenever something happened, I was like, oh, yeah, that's interesting. Like, okay, well, and I'd have my hard feelings. But after a while, I realized I was like, it's like I've got Botox of the emotions. It's like, I remember once I was like, I'm really angry. And I really was, but there was literally no charge in my system. And I was like, no, I'm really angry. It was like feeling sort of nothing, but I knew I was angry. It was quite a bizarre feeling. So it was another space that I grew into in learning how to operate because my frequency was quite high at the time, like it was really high. So I couldn't dip. My energy actually wasn't dipping down into the anger, even though the anger was there. So I still needed to honor it and process it. I just wasn't having that real visceral lower, like the soul, it wasn't coming through the solar plexus. It was just like everyone was like, I'm really unhappy with this. This is not cool at all. I'm so angry. It was a bizarre feeling. But again, like I didn't have a rule book. I didn't know what was going. I just knew I was having a very interesting response to anger in a very high vibrational state. And I was like, this is weird. Is this normal? Like, can I sustain this? Um, and you can sustain living in a high vibration and still having hard feelings. But I think I sort of stabilized instead of being really, really high, I sort of stabilized into a space where again, it's like you don't want the peaks and troughs, you don't want the super, super highs because I can guarantee you there's the super, super lows. Like everything is in balance. So I remember that being part of the journey as well. Like you'd have these elated, blissful experiences, and then you'd be like, oh, where's all the jewels? Where's all the bells and whistles? Where did it go? And then there's the disappointment in the journey because you're expecting the high, and then it didn't follow through because it just does this. And so after a while, what I realized was that life started to just go like this. There was more contentment, there was more peace. And again, instead of having big reactions to things, there was just like, oh, well, this is really interesting. What are we going to do with this? and again, like still creating space for the hard feelings, but I wasn't getting knocked over. I can still have emotional responses as well, but you recover. The recovery time is so much faster. Your ability to go from wow, that really hurt to I forgive you, like the turnaround time of that in a genuine, not a glossing over. Like you lean into it, you feel it, you have your hard feelings, you move through the processes, and you come down to it. I remember telling someone once I did this. I was sitting at a kitchen table and I was having some really hard thoughts about something that had happened and I was getting really angry and I was like, oh, you know what? I don't want to feel like this. I don't want to hold this anger. I don't want to hold the resentment. I don't want to feel this way. And so then I just worked through the lesson and what I was learning about myself through that experience. And I actually managed to work through the healing process and it happened quite quickly. But I ended up getting to a point where I was really excited about the outcome. Like I completely shifted. I'd moved into it. I had the feelings. I processed it. I looked at it from all different sides. How was I learning? How did it serve them? How did it serve me? And then I saw these really beautiful aspects that no one else would have seen, but I was able to see how I contributed. And I was really grateful for that experience. And then I just blessed everybody. And I was telling someone, they were like, yeah, that's not normal. That's high functioning. I'm like, well, that is 5D living, like moving through your feelings, processing the lesson, understanding the lesson, and your ability to come back into the forgiveness state and the acceptance and the letting go in a very quick way. That's 5D living. That's the process. That's the messiness, the feeling, the moving through it, and the releasing. Yeah, so a couple of other delusions that I wanted to mention around 5D, moving into 5D, is that it takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not like you're going to wake up the next morning and go, bing, oh, wow, I am God. And everything is amazing. This can take time to lean into, to embody. And again, you're talking about levels of consciousness. You are managing your ego into a different state, and your ego can kick and scream the whole way. So it can take time, consistency, and effort in aligning to the new truth, whatever that is for you, whatever you want to align to. But yeah, consistent effort, I do want to say, is one of the biggest things. Constantly being aware of yourself and what you're thinking, feeling. What are the beliefs that are coming up that you're projecting or leaning into or aligning to? The other thing too, and I did this for a long time, was escaping reality or neglecting the physical aspect. Because again, it was like, when you sort of get on the spiritual path, or you start to learn or explore more about spirituality, this whole other world opens up and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is where I want to live. Like this is, and I actually did a meditation once where it was probably my first real experience of like getting a taste of divine love. And I was not in a great place at the time. And I did some traveling and just went really, really high and found myself sitting in this space of divine love. And it literally, like, I just bawled my eyes out because it was overwhelming. Like, it was just so intense. It was too much. But at the same time, I loved it. Like, it was all I wanted. I didn't want to go back to Earth. Like, wherever I'd gotten myself to with whoever I was with, I was like, I can't go back. I can't go back. It's too hard. This place is not nice. And so that was my first taste of it. And I was like, oh my God. So I feel like previously, even, a few generations ago or a few decades ago, there was a real, as we moved into spirituality, it was the woo-woo. You'd go off with the fairies. Oh, they're off with the fairies. They're very ungrounded. It's all about spiritual. There's a big gap in who they are and what they embody versus the planet that they live on. So there was a lot of, flack that was given to the spiritual community because we were reaching out. And now that we've evolved through this experience, we're reaching out, but we're pulling it in. This is the point. We want to pull spirituality into our humanness and onto this planet. We want to thrive. We want to anchor our divine wisdom and our God self into our base chakra and thrive as a human in our spiritual truth. So and it can be hard to, like, I personally don't watch mainstream TV or the news and all of the jargon that comes out of that. However, what I realized was that I needed to pay attention to what was happening on a global scale, because that's the reason we're here, is to hold light, to be the beacon of hope, to help people move through the shadow. Now, the more light we have, the more darkness we have. Everything is always in balance, but when the light gets lighter, the dark gets darker, and vice versa. So again, when we move into 5D consciousness, it's not holding, not embodying the fear aspect. It's actually holding the light in the face of fear or in the face of darkness, and staying true to that, the strength that takes. And we are really being challenged with that at the moment. Like, gosh, look at the last 5 years even. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's always been there, but it's getting more and more prevalent. So there's an aspect where we really need people who are aware of what's going on beyond the narrative that's being shared, to see the higher perspective, to see the higher learning, and hold that, share that narrative within the community that's actually willing to listen and understand from a different perspective. And you'll know, for me, with my message and my work, I'm certainly not, we live on a planet of duality. We have to saddle up and get okay with it, because it's part of the learning. It serves us. So when we can rise above the hardness, the suffering, the judgment, or the pain that comes along with that, we can actually lean into the lesson and, again, go into the thriving state despite everything else that's going on. There's also, you'll hear talk of false light. This is, I think, another aspect of the 5D, an illusion of 5D consciousness. It's not all just positive thoughts. It's not all just, again, sunshine and puppy dogs and rainbows. Like, we actually want to embrace the shadow, because that is how we get back into our wholeness. That is the fastest path into our wholeness. And also too, I feel like there's this element of like nothing bad will ever happen. Like again, have you checked what planet you look on, that you live on? You live on the planet of School of Hard Knocks, and it's the planet of duality. Stuff's going to happen no matter what frequency you're vibrating at. But it's about how we show up, how we are paying attention to the lessons. And so there'll still be, we're humans. We love our family. As humans pass on, even if that is just a basic concept that we move through the grief, the loss, the suffering of when we lose a loved one. That's heartbreaking. It really does hurt. But this isn't our home. We are here having an experience. So, sort of the way I explain it now to people who are trying to understand this concept, not necessarily in the middle of grief, but trying to understand the process of life. It's like, this is, again, it's a school. We came here, it's a school of we're in the game at the moment. So when someone tags out, they're on the sidelines cheering you on to keep going with the game, keep going with the game. But a lot of people will fall down in a heap because they've lost that person. And there's a book that actually I recommend to a lot of people to really help understand this. There's a book called The Afterlife of Billy Fingers. And I love this book. So it's a really easy read. It's by Annie Kagan, and it's a true story. She had a brother who passed over, and he was actually a drug addict. And when he got to the other side, he was able to communicate with her quite clearly. And she wasn't really super intuitive or psychic. It was, this was a really new thing for her. And she had a lot of doubt, a lot of fear, and she had a lot of challenges that she came up against in this new relationship dynamic. And he actually shares his whole experience of the passing over to the other side and what that experience is, and some of the lessons and concepts that they talk about life and love and death. And it was very validating for me. I came across it many, many years ago, and I've shared it with hundreds of people since. But it's a beautiful book. So this sort of helps expand our understanding and knowledge around how to make the most of time here. And it's a great book for kids as well. It's actually really understandable for kids too, of a certain age, of sort of more that young teens. Yeah, so then some of the techniques, I just wanted to go into some of the techniques that we can apply, because it's not as hard as you think. And I am going to set a challenge for everybody who's interested in doing it within their own life on how to create change and how to manifest using your own frequency in shifting gears. There's so many different ways of manifesting, but this is really using your wholeness, your energy to align to whatever it is that you're wanting to create. And this is a concept that can be easier said than done, but coming out of the judgment of the right and wrong and the good and bad of everything that you experience. So you can challenge yourself, just everything that happens, well, that's interesting. What do I think about this? What beliefs do I have that's creating or forming an opinion or a judgment on what I'm witnessing or experiencing or seeing? So shifting our projections of coming out of the right and wrong into, well, that's interesting. Why do I think that's interesting? Question everything. Through that process, you can also do what am I learning about myself? How am I feeling? And what am I learning about myself through this experience? And challenge everything again, looking at it from lots of different perspectives. Some basic things we can do is the meditation piece. Meditation helps to slow your whole being down. It creates space for you to develop awareness. It regulates your nervous system. This is one of the key pieces. If you're wanting to create change in your life and you're wanting to bring in more of what you seek to create, meditation actually buys you space to really allow something else to come in. It stills your mind. It stills your nervous system. It slows you right down. And it buys you time, I want to say, because this is one of the first things that I noticed was that instead of being reactive to situations or reactive to people or just life, all of a sudden I had the capacity to stop and go, how am I feeling right now? How do I want to respond? Without trying to push myself into a certain space, it actually just opened up space within me. So meditation, and that's just breath work. I want to say you can be meditating while you're out playing golf. You could be meditating while you're out riding the bike or doing the gardening. A lot of people do it while they're gardening. It's your breath work and deepening your breath into your belly, some more diaphragmatic breathing. The self-awareness and the inner reflection. So if you can only do that once a day, great, do it at the end of the day. But if you can do it in the moment, that's actually the most effective. Again, reflecting on how you showed up, reflecting on your responses, your reactions. What did you contribute? What did you create? And how did that feel? Developing self-awareness. And that can be done with meditation. So I'm just getting this now. It's like when you're sitting on a chair, how am I feeling sitting on this chair? A lot of people don't do this even with their clothes. How am I feeling in the clothes that I'm wearing? I see some people when they're wearing clothes, and I'm like, gosh, you must be so uncomfortable. That looks uncomfortable. Like, oh, do you know what I mean? And that to me is a part of self-harm. They're restricting or constricting their body in some way, and that cannot be comfortable. So this is another part of how we relate to ourselves. What are we aware of what we're doing to ourselves, how we're showing up, what are we feeling? What are we thinking about ourselves and to others? The energy clearing is always going to help move things out. So again, it's like meditation. It's going to create space for you to choose something else. Energy clearing, I mean, with me anyway, the mentoring piece is going to help you develop your awareness of what you've created within yourself to have that reaction or have that response or get to this point or have that situation. So when we can develop the awareness of what we've done to create it, then we have more scope to shift how we're showing up to create a different outcome. Looking at what we're aligning to, and I think I touched on this before, it's with our belief systems. Again, question everything. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter whether you change it or not. Understand why you're doing it. That's part of your self-development, self-awareness, questioning your beliefs. Because a belief is just a narrative that we've decided to buy into. So is that still true, or do you align to something else? Does this feel right for you, or is it something else of a high vibration, a potential? And if there is, then what would that look like? When you want to change a belief, I want to say feel into it. Your beliefs are anchored, created, propelled, expanded by your feeling, your reaction and your feeling. So we're going to get into that a little bit more in a minute. But that's, if you want to really challenge something, then how does this make me feel? You might have a really strong reaction. You might actually get a little bit angry and be quite surprised that you're angry at that concept or that belief. And that's okay too. Let that be there. That's good. You're challenging an aspect of yourself to go, well, why do you believe that though? Like you do that every day. Why do you do that? Well, you know, if it gives you joy, sure, but how is sorry,
Hello?
okay.
Yeah, I thought it was me.
Or did you get kicked out too? Was it just me?
Because it happens to me from time to time. So.
Yes, same. Another way you can move into 5D consciousness is really cleaning up your energy system. So the energy clearing, yes, but looking at how can you detoxify your life. If you're wanting to move into a higher vibration, then what are you surrounding yourself with? What is your home life like? What food do you eat? The people that you're around. When you start to develop self-awareness and how you're thinking and feeling, you notice it in other people as well. The things that you watch on TV, that is, you're consuming energy when you watch TV. So what are you watching? Is it a lot of violence? Is there a lot of aggression? Is there a lot of drama? Is it toxic? or whatever. Again, there's no right or wrong. It's just awareness of what it is you're consuming with your eyes. What are you consuming with your ears? What are you consuming in your mouth? What are you putting on your skin? Do you know what I mean? Like what is your environment like? And that's going to, so when we start to detoxify, and our food is a big part of this, when we start to detoxify what we're putting into our body, we get clearer, and our energy literally will become of a high vibration. Once when I started to really get behind that, that's when I noticed the biggest shift, actually. That was when I really moved into solidly, my energy anchored more into that 5D consciousness. Once I did more of a thorough detox, became aware of who I was around, what I was thinking, what I was hearing from the people that I was around, their attitudes, the negativity or the judgment. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm not vibing with this anymore. This is not. And so that all got shifted. So coming out of the right and wrong, I just want to expand on having space for other people's projections. Like when someone else is having hard feelings, when someone else is projecting their beliefs, how you're responding to that, you're reflecting that judgment if you come back with, oh no, that's not right. So having space for other people to be where they're at, letting them go through their suffering, letting them go through their pain or wherever they're at. And that will help you come out of the savior complex and the self-sacrifice as well, not without having the need to go and fix others. It's just letting others be. That's creating more space, more peace, more strength within you. And you're learning, you're constantly learning about yourself and others without the right and wrongness, without having to do something with it. You're just witnessing other people's experience. Releasing attachments, releasing addictions to emotions, addictions to people. These are all more ways that we can raise our vibration. There's so much. I could be here all day. Honestly, I'm not going to keep going. I've got a huge list of things. I think I can stop there. Of course, at this point, I will if anyone, we're going to do an activity. I'm going to challenge everyone well beyond today's podcast of how to manifest by raising your vibration. But I just wanted to open it up to anyone. If at this point, has anyone got any questions, anything they wanted to put out there, any challenges, anything like I've done this and it didn't work? Clarification on 5D consciousness. If anyone's got anything they want to put out there, I'd say now's the time, and then we might go into an activity.
Yeah. First, thank you very much for everything you shared. That was very helpful. And also, yeah, so everyone, you can, if you want to talk to Sarah, you can raise your hand by pressing reactions, then raise hand in Zoom, or by pressing *9 on your phone. And also you can type your questions on the chat boxes on Zoom and on YouTube. And yeah, so in the meantime, Sarah, I would love also if you can tell us about, because we are offering 60-minute one-on-one session, and also there is the Bloom Room coming in June. It will start in the beginning of June. So I would love if you can tell us about those. And I invite everyone to follow with us on the page yourdivineuniqueness.com/Sarah, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Sarah, SARAH. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page. The link also on YouTube video description, and the chat boxes on Zoom and on YouTube. So yeah, Sarah, I would love if you can tell us about
yes.
this.
So
yeah, thank you.
Thank you. In a private session, you can work on literally anything you want to. So we can target specific frequencies. If it is regarding raising your vibration, then we would be looking at what is keeping you anchored, or what is keeping your vibration stuck in a frequency that's lower vibrational. I remember working with a client once, and she was hell-bent on changing timelines, and she was so focused. Like, she'd done all of this work and she'd done all of this manifestation, and she'd used all of her techniques, and she was like, can you check? We were in a session. She's like, can you check? I think I'm there. I can feel it. I can touch it. I can taste it. Check that I'm there. And I'm looking at her intuitively. I'm looking at her and everything she's done, and I can see her. She is actually touching. She's stretching for this time. That's what her energy she was stretching for this timeline with all of her might, but actually at the bottom of her was like this huge stretchy weighted bag hanging from her sacral and her base. And I was like, for as long as I said, you've still got too much junk in your trunk for what you're trying to align to. Like there's specific frequencies that you're holding in your sacral and your base that is not in alignment. It's still incongruent with what you're trying to reach for. So we had to do some work on that. And then that took her a little bit of time again, the consistency post session to keep moving into that space, the releasing. So she'd done on the projection of the creation piece, she'd done really well, but it was the piece of the letting go of the old. And this is why I say, question all of your beliefs, question your choices and how you're feeling. Why is it there? Unravel that, and that will create a releasing for you to become lighter, and it's more effortless as you move into that high timeline or that high frequency. So we can work on those sorts of things, shifting out old belief systems, literally anything. It might be a relationship that you're struggling with. It could be something that you do want to manifest, and how do we make that happen? What is it that needs to shift? What beliefs are you holding that's either preventing that from coming in, or getting really clear in what you do want to align to. I specifically do a lot of work on removal of foreign interferences, entities, those sorts of things, because they always have an impact or an influence over what we're feeling. They can tend to really blow out some of the emotional frequencies that we're experiencing, because that generates more food for them. So that's a very easy aspect to clear. So that creates more space within you. It can sort of calm the noise. And then we can just get on with the actual healing piece. So there's nothing we can't do in a session, and we're very much led by where you're at and what you want to work on. And you get the you get the replay to repeat the clearing as often as you want to, which I really do encourage people to do. Repeating the clearings just continues to thin out that frequency more and more and more and more, until it just dissipates into nothing. So the replays for that purpose are fantastic. So that's the private session. And then the bloom room is perfect for everything that we've talked about here today, where you are really connecting into a conscious group twice a week, where we come together, and the session runs for an hour, or at least an hour. So we're all blessing each other. So even though you're blessing someone else, you are actually aligning into your state of divinity, your wholeness, your vibration just goes, it's amazing what it does. It just shoots straight up. And so you're sitting in that frequency for a good hour twice a week, but then you have the replays of that to jump in. And it's just like, it's like having a class where it's literally the space is created. You just need to step into it, if that makes sense. Like you give in the space to really naturally align your energy, and then you're supported by the blessing of everybody else blessing you. But you're anchoring that frequency in, and you guided through that process as well. So the bloom room is amazing for amplifying whatever it is that you're wanting to manifest. It amplifies your energy to bring that in. And some of the stories that have come out of like the experiences and things that have been manifested through the bloom room have been amazing. So I love it. I personally really love it. Everyone should be doing it. But each to their own, of course. No projection at all. And it's a monthly intake as well. So I think the next intake is the next intake is June, actually. So there'll be an intake for June and another one for July. So yeah, that one's amazing too.
Wonderful. And Anna, she wrote, will having blocks and trauma reduce the impact of doing the bloom room?
Sorry, what was that?
Will having blocks and trauma reduce the impact of doing the bloom room?
So we do actually do some work around that in the bloom room as well. So the bloom room will help move through all the divinity moving through you as you align to that will actually contribute to releasing the trauma, releasing the blocks. What it's actually doing is releasing the resistance to receive. So you're learning how to align to your yes, align into your divinity, you are creation. So you're coming into that frequency and that elevates. So as we do that, what I've noticed and what a few other people have experienced is that it can actually dissipate some of the resistances in the receiving. It's like as you go up, it's helping you release at the same time. It's doing sort of this, if that makes sense. It's pulling away and pushing you up, elevating you up. Another added bonus that's sort of a bit of a side effect of the bloom room is protection. Actually, it's almost like your whole life becomes blessed, like everything elevates. So I started it with the intention that everyone just sort of come with one or two goals. What are you really working on? And what we all noticed was that actually everything changed. Like everything was getting up leveled, not just that project or not just that thing we wanted to manifest. Our whole life was getting showered with this divine frequency. Everything was getting up leveled. So it's like the benefits are just like there's too many to mention. Do you know what I mean? It's there was people coming for court cases, there was people coming for psychic protection. And again, the results and the changes and the shifts that people are achieving is amazing. But it's not the only, it's like whatever you're doing, it will elevate that. Like whatever you're trying to manifest, it adds oomph to you, your energy, your frequency, and what you're doing. So it's however much you're prepared to let go of. If you are coming to the bloom room and you know that you've got a lot of trauma that prevents you from feeling safe, then hold that intention that you want to release everything that's not your true authentic expression, the pain and the suffering that you have experienced from these experiences, whether it's this lifetime or previous lifetimes. The heart opening that can happen out of the forgiveness of the self for those experiences, that is even that's a gateway to let the unraveling begin. And the consistency, it's like an intensified experience. Like not everyone does it consistently each month. There are a few people that do it consistent and the energy just keeps building and building and building. But you do have the replays. So if finances are an issue, then you've got the replays, you download that, and you could do that every day. Like literally, if you've got the time and the space, jump in the bloom room every day. But yeah, it won't stop you. It will support you in that shifting. And if that's your intention, whatever your heart's desires are, that's where the energy goes. So I would say as much as whatever it is you're manifesting, you would pay equal amount to the releasing and the letting go of what you're holding.
And Shirat, can you have multiple intentions while doing the bloom room, or just one each month?
No, you can have as many as you want. So again, like that's what I started thinking, oh, well, if everyone just sort of comes with one or two things that they really want to work on. But yeah, but what we noticed was all areas of our lives were getting impacted in the up leveling and the changing and the shifting, and people were experiencing greater levels of clarity, motivation, their creativity was increasing. Challenges at work were just getting, like the challenges were just sort of dissipating, or where it previously would have been a big issue, it just wasn't. Like it's sort of that's it. Your whole life in ways that you weren't expecting can start to shift because your energy is aligning to a different frequency. So it sort of catapults you above, and things just, the lower frequencies just start to dissipate. So it's sort of like riding a wave. That's sort of how it felt. It's like getting on it and getting into it and sort of amplifying your frequency. It's building, 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 and it's like riding a wave. And so all the things that you're doing to manifest, get the extra muscles.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sarah. For both for creating the space, the bloom room, to support others in their true self embodiment, and really bring in that 5D power that you've been talking about, and also being available through the one-on-one session for those who want to work with you more on a personal level. So thank you so much. Very grateful to you.
My pleasure, I think.
And so again, everyone, you can sign up to one of these two packages or both of them on the page yourdivineuniqueness.com yourdivineuniqueness.com/Sarah, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Sarah, SARAH. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page, the link also on YouTube video description, and the chat boxes on Zoom and on YouTube. Paul wrote, thank you, Sarah. I always enjoy your talks.
Okay. I think Tatiana had a hand raised.
I was going to unmute
Oh, sorry.
Hello, Sarah. Hello, Monza.
Hi, Tatiana.
Hi, Tatiana. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. Great to see you again. And I'm still stuck with psychic attacks. I have been following your advice, and I was doing a lot of inner work and actually managed to release several triggers. But I'm still attacked, and I have discovered that there are self-destructive programs that were embedded in me, and I have no idea how to release them. Please help me.
Yep. Yes, it sounds like you actually need a clearing. I would say let's do a really quick, can I turn this into a group activity? Yes, let's turn it into a group activity. So I'll do a group clearing for everybody in, what did you say it was? The actual.
Well, actually, I have several self-destructive programs in me, embedded in me against my will. Apparently, it was in past lives and also in this lifetime.
Yeah, I would say that for the entirety of that, you really would need a clearing actually, because it's quite multi-layered. But let's have a look at what we can do with the entities and interferences that prevent us. What's the angle? So to keep it in line with 5D consciousness, raising the vibration, manifesting through 5D, the self-sabotage. All right, so we're going to look at it through the self-harm piece that keeps us stuck, keeps our vibration low, keeps us from almost the self-sabotage piece. Because for you, that might be what you're experiencing with the psychic attack, but for someone else, it could be something completely different. So for how everyone is showing up, really just tune into all the ways that you feel you either sabotage yourself, whether it's through a conscious or unconscious agreement, contract, behavior, habit, addiction, whatever it is, where you have limitations around breaking free of restrictions, sabotage, self-harm. I want you to lean into that. Just let it be there. Now, this isn't about inviting something external in. This is about creating space within you where you are holding that frequency in. Doesn't matter how it got there. You're just creating space for it to be there right now, currently. So bringing your awareness to your breath, really slowing down your breath in through the nose. Feel your belly rise as you inhale and breathing out through the mouth. And I'm going to bring in the white flame, a pleasant karmic flame, light of flame, light of God coming in through the whole group. Live on the replay, into Mother Earth, all participants coming in. There's a self-harm, the punishment, the undeserving and the unworthy of that bridging into the higher vibrational 5D expression. And we've got quite a bit of evil consciousness showing up here. Bringing in the light of God, light of flame. I can say Michael, floating through the whole being, through all levels of the being, through all levels of time, space, time, and realities, for parallel universes, timelines, incarnations, ancestors, lineages, galaxies, gateways, and beyond, including all contracts, cosmic gradients, all attachments, and addictions, all entities, thought entities, elementals, into the white flame now. Breathe. All the way through, all the way through, all the way through. Can I get the galactic vacuum in here? Release, including all discarnates, all entities, all thought entities of self-harm, self-hate, neglect, the evil consciousness, undeserving, unworthy. All the way through, all the way through, all the way through. All cords, attachments, and addictions to the suffering, the self-neglect, the betrayal, opening up the void, all the way through to the void, more intense flooding the void through the solar plexus, the sacral base. All implants, devices, mechanisms, and activators through the nervous system, the spinal cord, release, 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 release. All cords, attachments, and addictions through all levels of the being, release, release, release. The self-hate, the self-harm. Thank you. Self-hate, self-harm through the crown, disintegrate, disintegrate, eliminate. Living Harshna, disintegrate, eliminate, expel, through the throat, disintegrate, eliminate, expel through the heart. Self-hate, self-harm, disintegrate, eliminate, expel. Disintegrate, eliminate, expel. It's got shock, trauma, disbeliefs of freeze. As I do this piece now, I want you to really feel yourself moving into that alignment of you are divinity. And it doesn't matter what you've been through, and it doesn't matter what you've previously aligned to, agreed to, contracted, or agreed. It doesn't matter. What you do know is truth, that you are divinity. You are a divine being. Just anchoring that in. Now feel that wherever that is triggered within your body, wherever there is a pushback, I want you to bring your awareness to that space and just hold compassion and love. Your mind doesn't need to understand that concept. It's just a truth that you are aligned to. You feel it. You can feel the truth in that statement. So it's almost like you're letting that energy permeate through as we keep clearing all attachments and addictions, contracts, oaths, and agreements, or cords here, release to addiction to suffering. Yeah, it's coming back to the punishment piece again. You deserve the punishment. Release, 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 release. Flooding that with electric violet light all the way through. Opening that up. Now bringing your awareness to your divine spark right above your crown, visualizing, sensing your divine spark, your higher self, your God self. And within this divine spark, without moving, the emanation of this frequency actually floods your whole being. But I want you to feel the downpour of your God self, your divine wisdom, your divine light, your divine truth coming in through the crown, moving through your throat, feeling the light emanating through all directions of time and space as it embodies fully through your whole being. This knowing, this level of truth that you are embodying, regardless of everything you've been through, this is here too. Feeling this moving through your front and back heart chakra, feeling into the deserving of this connection, deserving of the healing that you, as a divine spark, your God self, your divine wisdom, is here to give and receive simultaneously. You are that clever. You are that powerful. Feeling into the gratitude and the love of this exchange, this awareness, this connection. And again, it doesn't matter if it's 5% or 100%. Having gratitude for this experience, for you to experience yourself in this way, flooding through the solar plexus, the sacral, anchoring into the base. And when you're ready, on your next exhalation, sending that breath and the light out through your feet, through the base, anchoring into Mother Earth, claiming your space on this planet, claiming your space, giving yourself permission to take up space, your permission to get messy, your permission to learn, to create, to play in your wholeness, without the right and wrong of the experience, without the good or bad. Just paying attention to all the ways you are showing up in this experience with this challenge. I'm going to spin that out. Normalize, balance, stabilize, harmonize. And then when you're ready, just wriggling your fingers and toes, coming back into your body, bringing your awareness behind your eyes. There's a bit more work to be done on the back heart chakra. It feels very restricted and tense in that area. So that ability to really, I think the worthiness and the deserving of the healing piece, the worthiness and the deserving to thrive, to shift, the heal. The punishment was really big frequency. The punishment of, being held accountable for all the bad stuff. So this is where the shadow work is really important, and where we embrace our wholeness and embrace all aspects, even when we've come in as the asshole or when we've come in as the person who's been the trigger, where we've come in to do the killing or whatever it is that we've done. It was part of our learning. It was we served in that way as much as we are now receiving in the way that others are showing up for us in that capacity. So whether it was this lifetime or another lifetime, the forgiveness piece has to happen. So that deserving of that is sitting in the back heart. So I feel like there's more work that needs to be done on that collectively. Actually, that's collectively.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much, Sarah. Tatiana, we'd love to hear your feedback.
Thank you very much. Actually, while you were doing the group process, I saw an implant in my upper neck in form of a black sword, and I think that's what was triggering one of the triggers of the attacks.
Yeah. So I think for you, it's going to be really important. And I mean, I think it's for everybody, like learning how to work with it. If you have the capacity to see that, that is amazing. Do something with it. If you can see it, you can do something with it. Does that make sense? Like empower yourself, move through your healing. And even if you have to repeat that process every day until it will, I promise you it will shift. It's creating space for you to move into it.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Tatiana. And again, thank you very much, Sarah. That was a powerful process. And Clarion and Paul wrote, that was so powerful for me. Thank you, Sarah.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Paul.
My absolute pleasure. I will just go through, I'll share with you what I was going to around the manifesting of like manifesting through 5D. So you don't have to do it right now. But the challenge I was going to set for everybody is, because it can be quite small. If you do the bloom room, this is going to really amplify you, but this is an alternative. So every morning when you wake up and every night when you go to sleep, you spend 5 minutes, 15 minutes, doesn't matter, Jeeve, spending time really sitting in gratitude for your life. It's like finding love for your life. Now, if there's an aspect of your life that you're really struggling with, let's say you're looking for work, you're going through a breakup, whatever the issue is, leaning into the love and the gratitude for that experience in all the ways that you have received. So let's say you're looking for a job. You've either got a job or you had a job, whatever the most recent one was, or whatever your favorite job was in the past. Lean into the gratitude and the love that you have for that experience and in all the ways it showered your life, in all the ways it gave to you. What did it give to you? And pay attention to that, feel into it, like literally feel it in your heart. It's like just shower that with your awareness, just shower that job with love and gratitude. Like it was just the best thing ever. That was just, thank you so much. Because what you're doing is recognizing that you've already received. So it opens your frequency up to create more. Now, when you do that consistently, I promise you it will create a change. Might not be tomorrow. It might be, you might be that powerful that you just go, boom, all of a sudden you got a job the next day. Excellent. But it might be that you need to show up consistently for a little while in that space to generate the energy and validate that experience, because the universe is going to respond to that and go, yeah, sure, here's another one. Like literally that's just what it does. So if you're sitting in the victim consciousness, oh, this is terrible, sure, here's some more terrible, because that's where you're sending your energy. So I'm highlighting, like, if you have a challenge going on in your life, lean into the love and the gratitude in all the ways that you are actually receiving. How is it serving you? What have you gained from this experience? And focus on the positive aspects. That's not to deny the negative aspects if they're there, or the hardship that it's created. But even in the hardship or the suffering, you've still received. So what did you receive? What did you learn about yourself through that experience? And just slather it with gratitude and love, and do that consistently. So when you do that, it's 5 minutes every morning, 5 minutes every night. When you do that consciously, sending that energy to whatever it is that you want to create. If you can back that up during the day with conscious effort, like you might be sitting in the car and all of a sudden you just want to activate your heart and feel into the love and the gratitude for that experience, for that person, even if it was a breakup. If you're wanting to go, you know what, I'm really done. I've learned from that relationship. I've let go of my hard feelings, but I'm actually really open to meeting another person who is more aligned to me, who is a healthier relationship, that we can learn and grow together with. Then look at all the ways that you received and learned about yourself with the previous relationship, because you are acknowledging that you have received, and the growth and the love and the sharing that you did have, it will cultivate more of that energy for what you are bringing in. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. Do that, see how that goes every morning, every night. If you can do something in between, even better.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Sarah, for that process, and for everything you shared with us today. As always, it was very inspiring. I really love the messages that you share with us, and the clearings, the activations you do for us. So thank you so much, and thank you also for being available with the one-on-one session and the Bloom Room. So
Thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for joining and contributing, and yeah, thank you.
Wonderful. And also everyone, thank you so much for being here with us, whether live or on replay. Thank you for sharing with us your beautiful energies. And Anna, thank you, Sarah and Mosef. Thank you, Anna. And yeah, again, you can sign up for the 60-minute one-on-one private session and or the June Bloom Room on the link yourdivineuniqueness.com/Sarah, yourdivineuniqueness.com/Sarah, SARAH. Or you can click on the special offer button, which is on the live events page, later on the replay page. The link also on YouTube via the description and the chat boxes on Zoom and on YouTube. And yeah, so with that, everyone, I'm sending you so much love, and I will see you on the next call. Bye for now.